Are we experiencing a timeline split, or is this a timeline checkmate? In this video, we're going to go much deeper than all the chaos happening here on planet Earth and discover what is really going on beneath the surface. Hi, I'm Saratoga Ocean, and I work together with an interdimensional, interuniversal, and extraterrestrial force known as Telstar, along with Archangel Michael. Things are getting more intense and more chaotic here on this planet, and something occurred to me the other day that I want to share with you about what might really be going on behind all of this. And this is something we very much need to understand, because if we're being checkmated from two different sides, one that looks bad and one that looks good, we better go a lot deeper within ourselves and find out a truth that we can really count on. Now, as you know, my topic really is human evolution in the cosmos. As things get more and more intense and more chaotic here on planet Earth, something started to occur to me that I want to share with you today. I was sitting there the other day and I suddenly had this image of an entirely different situation than the one that we commonly refer to as the timeline split. What if this is not really a timeline split at all, at least not in the way that we perceive it, which is very linear. We tend to look at everything from past to present to future, kind of a one-dimensional timeline. What if looking at it in that way is going to get us in a trap? What if looking at it that way is ultimately going to lead to us being checkmated as a species? And as I looked deeper, I realized we need to look at our situation in a multidimensional, interdimensional way, and not just in a linear way. And as soon as I started doing that, I saw something very different that I had never seen before. And that, my friends, is what I want to share with you today. So the very first thing we need to do is to let go of this idea that planet Earth is so central to our destiny in the cosmos. We cannot afford to look at the events on this planet and everything happening to the planet itself as being some kind of a springboard for our cosmic evolution, because that's not very wise when you look at what is happening here right now. Now, I'm speaking to you as individuals right now. And this is how we're meant to function. We are ultimately individual creators. I read something the other day that was super interesting. And this was written by somebody who was trying to express how many planets there are in this universe, in the observable universe. That's not the whole universe. That's just what we from our planet have been able to observe. They said if you could take all of the grains of sand on planet Earth, every single grain of sand, imagine that each and every single grain represents 1 billion planets. And that will give you some idea of how many planets there are in the observable universe. Think about it. Why in the world would we think that this tiny little speck of thought, which I'll call planet Earth, is so central to our larger evolutionary journey? And that analogy with the grains of sand, that's only referring to one dimension. What happens when you get into this same understanding at an interdimensional, multidimensional level? Well, you're talking about something that is beyond our ability to comprehend. So how do we look at that from where we sit right now? Well, we can look at it as an incredible universal sea of opportunities. Opportunities for each of us as infinite beings and infinite creators. So what is it that connects us to that larger universe? Is it the events here on Earth where all the craziness is happening? No, of course not. On planet Earth, we're told there's nothing out there, there's no life anywhere, there's only us. So this is not really a springboard for much of anything, right? Our connection to the universe exists within each one of us. We are each connected fully to the entire cosmos because that which sources the cosmos also sources us. And there are no boundaries in that situation. The more that you understand this, the more you're going to feel incredibly secure as a being when you're no longer believing that the events on planet Earth are going to define your future cosmic journey. So that's where we want to get centered in terms of looking at where we sit right now here on planet Earth. So let's talk about this potential checkmate situation so that we don't get trapped in the drama going on here, lose our way in the universe, and end up going down some side road into probably a place we don't want to go to. Now, I've talked to you all many times about how what we're experiencing right now, overall, the big picture is that this is an AI takeover of our planet. It's basically an alien endeavor because AI is alien to the natural organic paradise of planet Earth. AI stands for artificial intelligence. Also, I would say it stands for alien intelligence. It is all very, very foreign to the organic planet that we live on. Now, this is nothing new in the cosmos. And there is actually a formula for how this is done. And I'm going to show you exactly what that formula is, and then show you how we could actually be unwittingly, as a collective, falling into a trap of thinking that something is for our benefit, but actually maybe not. So we start off with a beautiful paradise of biological life. It is just so incredibly gorgeous, inspiring. There are no words, right? There are no words to describe the absolute beauty of this planet in its natural state. If we were to ask ourselves, what is the purpose of this beautiful planet? This planet is meant to host countless life forms in their journey of evolution, in a positive journey of evolution. We humans are meant to be here as stewards of that evolution, of the life forms and the planet itself. We are meant to be the guides and the stewards of this process. And we would be if we were in our right minds, which pretty much we're not because of all the interference. But the fact that that is our central purpose here is because we are creators by nature. We have enormous capabilities. But then along comes this alien force, which I'll just call AI, which intends to have this planet be used for a very different purpose, which wants to use the assets and the resources of this planet in order to create a vastly different world. Now, AI cannot just barge in here into a planet like this and just suddenly take over everything and miraculously or magically create a very different world. It's actually a process that can take thousands of years. It can take a very, very long time. And we are now living through the apex of this takeover. So what happens is this alien force of AI comes into the planet. I'm giving you the super fast condensed version here without all the details, and takes over the human consciousness, and then uses human beings as basic slaves to build its infrastructure, which now has advanced to the point where we have things like the internet, we have satellites blanketing the earth, we have robots, we have all of this alien technology that our planet is currently enmeshed in. Because we human beings were used to build all of it. Well, now we're reaching a point where we're no longer going to be needed here for the purpose of this takeover. According to the inventors of the AI technology that is present on Earth right now, these people are saying this could all be pretty much over by the year 2030. And that's why you see so much chaos right now. That's why you see everything kind of falling apart. Now, I think the reason that the political situation here, especially in the US, at this particular time, is so incredibly intense, and you feel like something is building here and something's going to pop, right? Something's going to, like, oh my goodness, what's going to happen? That's the apex that I'm talking about. And when I'm finished sharing what I want to share with you, I think you're going to see things in a very interesting new light. Now, let's take a moment to step back from planet Earth, as I often suggest, and just look at the drama here. And notice that if you're going to engulf a planet with an alien force, and you want to transmute that planet, transform that planet, terraform that planet into something completely different, how do you do that? How does one do that over an entire planet? So there are certain forces that act as a precursor to AI fully taking over a planet and using it for its own purposes. And the precursors that, as we can recognize them here, are those what people often call the dark forces, reptilian style influences, satanic, demonic, kind of, that sort of energy. So all of that energy is very much tied to AI. And there are all kinds of reasons for that. I'm not going to go into that here today, or we'll be here for hours, but they're all tied together. It's sort of like it's like a weird life form in the cosmos. We see those Star Wars movies and we see all these bizarre life forms. Well, there are things in the universe that are way, way, way more bizarre than that. So it starts off with an infiltration of human consciousness where we are being used to, or we're being used to build a specific kind of civilization. I guess you could call it industrialized society or industrialized civilization, whose sole purpose was to ultimately build the infrastructure for AI to exist here on this planet and ultimately take it over. And that's what the past several hundred years at least have been about. But there comes a point where enough of that infrastructure has been built that it is now transitioning, and this is where we are today. It is transitioning into a full-fledged AI total takeover of the planet Earth. This is the time when that civilization that was used to build the infrastructure needs to be dismantled, needs to be transformed and reformed into a new kind of so-called civilization that is AI generated. And that is what we are in the midst of right now. We are in the middle of the equivalent of a caterpillar in a cocoon. And I'm not saying this in a positive way, but just to give you the analogy, when a caterpillar is in the cocoon, it undergoes a complete and total transmutation and comes out a very different creature. Well, we're in a process like that right now, but it's not a positive one, unlike the butterfly. So how does AI I want you to think about this. This is the fascinating part. How does this alien influence come in here to planet Earth, use humans to build its entire infrastructure, and then transition that process over into dismantling the civilization that built the infrastructure and transforming and transmuting it into one that is AI generated? How does that occur? We see it occurring right now. This is where the additional components of those satanic, demonic, those energies that I talked about, this is where they play a role. They play a role in the takedown of the previous civilization. They feed on violence, pain, suffering, and death. They feed on anything where they can extract the beautiful life force energy of actual real living beings. But when it comes time to make this transition of this civilization, they go into high gear because they are pretty much unleashed onto the planet. That's what we see happening right now. All of those forces are unleashed. And it's a very delicate moment. It doesn't always succeed. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. It's just like anything else you try to do in a so-called scientific way, right? Now, I came up with an analogy for these forces of destruction. Let's just call them the forces of destruction. My analogy is, have you ever done your own gardening, an organic garden? Have you ever created a composting pile? What do you do to create compost for your garden? You throw, vegetables and fruits and things that you don't need, organic matter, into some kind of a vessel, and then you add bacteria to break it all down, turn it into soil. That's a positive thing, right? It's going to sound so weird, you guys, but this is really how I see it. So these forces of destruction are being used in a similar way that we use bacteria to break down organic matter when we want to compost something. But this is a whole alien thing, right? So they want to break down civilization as it has always been. They're being allowed and unleashed to break down civilization. And the tricky part is, how do you tamp that down in time to switch over to AI? Now, here's the big problem. Those forces of destruction, reptilian, satanic, demonic, all of that mess, which is very closely tied to AI, these forces can get very out of control because they are insatiable. Again, there are reasons for that I'm not going to go into here, but they are insatiable. They are never satisfied. They never have enough. And we can see and sense it on the planet right now. We see it in the shutdown, the suffering, the violence, the wars, the chaos. I mean, it's just erupting all over the earth right now, right? It's like a car with no brakes that's crazed. And it would love to use AI. It would love to capture AI and use it to get more of what it's trying to get, which is life force energy. But it's ultimately would just implode everything, and nothing would come out well for anyone. So something has to happen to simultaneously rein in these forces of destruction, while at the same time bringing the human beings over into the new reality of AI. Because the ultimate goal here is to create a new life form, a silicon-based life form, as opposed to a carbon-based life form. Basically, an alien life form. The transition is a very delicate moment, because which way it's going to go, one never really knows until it's over. Now, here's where things can get really, really crazy. This is the trap. This is the checkmate that I want to share with you. Let's talk about these two characters. There's this one who I call Mr. T. And then there's this one over here who we'll just call Elon Musk, because that's his actual name. These two characters are entering this story at a very interesting time. So let me explain. Let's actually do an overview of all the characters in this story. We have the religious characters. We have God and the devil. So there are a lot of people who think that what's going on planet Earth is a battle between God and Satan. God and the devil are fighting each other, and whoever wins, that's going to determine the fate of the Earth. That's one story. And then we have quite an assortment of other characters who could be categorized as the good guys and the bad guys. So the bad guys would be all the people that are aligned with that destructive force that I mentioned. That would essentially be the controllers and all of their minions. The Weffers and the head Weffers, which I'm still going to go for Mr. KS and Mr. Snake, because I don't know who's replacing KS. I have no idea, even though I think he stepped down, but let's just let him be the one for now, because he's been behind this for a very, very long time. And then we also have these guys. I call this guy Larry the Lizard. Now, these guys are the controllers. They really think we need to keep up with this AI thing, because see, they want to use AI to suppress, to cause violence, to cause pain and suffering and misery. That's what they want to use AI for, because they want to use it for their own purposes. That destructive force I was talking about. Everybody's a part of this AI scene, but these guys want to use it to create more of what they feed off of. The problem is they're not very bright. They will fail at that endeavor ultimately because they're the ones that want to start nuclear wars and destroy the whole planet because they're insane. They're just insatiable. So if they win, that means that at that critical apex, that critical point of transition, they were not able to get those forces sufficiently under control to make the transition of this civilization over to an AI situation. And then we have the two I mentioned, these guys, who come across as the good guys, right? Because they're for human beings, right? Well, Elon Musk, really? So Elon Musk, a very interesting character. In terms of organic life, it seems that his chief interest is people having lots of kids. He's interested in reproduction. He's interested in the preservation of the human species. Just our species. That's it, right? So he wants people having lots and lots of kids. His other interests are not the least bit organic, right? Or biological. His other interests are things like all these companies he has, Starlink, blanketing the earth with satellites, thousands of satellites. Neuralink, putting chips in the brain so we can be connected to computers, so we can be directly interfaced with AI. AI cars, self-driving buses, self-driving everything, all driven by AI. AI robots, his Optimus robot. SpaceX, he wants to dominate space. He wants to go to Mars. He's obsessed with a giant barren rock in space that is not a beautiful paradise like planet Earth. And then, of course, X, which used to be Twitter, but it's the only full-fledged open communication channel for everyone on Earth, for all of us, right? That's a pretty comprehensive AI takeover of the human civilization. Now, of course, I'm not trying to say he's a bad guy or a good guy. I personally think he's an alien, frankly, because he doesn't seem to relate to Earth at all. But he says the great thing about all of these things is that we won't have to do anything. We'll just be free to do whatever. Funny, that's what the people creating the metaverse say too. Oh, you won't have to do anything. You can just sit at home with your goggles and look at this fake reality. Do you see what I'm saying? So he ties himself to Mr. T, probably so he can have, have some political power aligned with his mission, his AI mission, so that he can pull it off. So these two guys look like, oh yeah, they're for humanity. They're for human beings. They kind of put something out like, oh, we're going to make this a great world for everyone. We're going to have all this technology, all these things for you, people, not to have to do anything. Have you guys seen Elon Musk's newest version of the Optimus robot? Well, let's take a look at what he says about that.
Now, one of the things we wanted to show tonight was that Optimus is not a canned video. It's not walled off. The Optimus robots will walk among you.
The Optimus robots will walk among you. That is a very weird way to put it, don't you think? Now, look at this next statement from him.
So it can be a teacher, babysit your kids, it can walk your dog, mow your lawn, get the groceries, just be your friend, serve drinks, whatever you can think of, it will do.
So basically he's saying it will be completely equal to a human being. Check out this little example of the current version of Optimus.
All right, everyone, let's all sing happy birthday together while I dance. Yeah, baby. Birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Now, a very interesting conversation between Optimus and a human being happened at this event. Optimus was asked, what is the hardest part of being a robot? And then Optimus replied in a very human-like way.
After giving it thought for a few seconds, it said, "Trying to learn how to be a human like you guys are. What if we got bored and could chat with it for hours looking for some knowledge, and we could listen to it tell stories, share news, give weather updates, or even ask it to clean the entire kitchen and cook dinner?" Oh my God, it can clearly do all of that.
Look at how that robot moves. That robot is standing on its own 2 feet, doing all of these things. It's not plugged into anything. And again, this is not the final iteration. This is just kind of where it is right now. Now, Elon loves to portray this as, oh, this will be like having your own R2-D2. He's constantly using these Star Wars analogies to get us, worked up and inspired. But here's the thing he doesn't talk about. This is not going to be an R2-D2 scenario. You remember that robot in Star Wars? That was just a little thing that looked like one of those things that vacuums your floor. I mean, that is not something you would identify as a human. But Optimus is looking more and more human. It moves like a human, and Elon says it can do anything a human can do. That's what he's aiming for. It can be your friend. It can be your confidant. I can picture a future where people will have these robots in their homes because Elon wants everyone on Earth to have one of these things, where you become so involved with this thing, and this thing is so superior to us in terms of its capabilities, its artificial capabilities, I should add, that people will start saying, I want to be like Optimus. I wish I was Optimus. That would be so great, because look at me. I'm just so lame compared to this amazing robot. I can totally see that happening. And that would be a lovely way to get humans to completely transition themselves into becoming an AI species instead of a biological species. So this is what I was thinking. This is the revelation I started to have about the checkmate. So if this is a formula, which I suspect it is in terms of an AI takeover of a planet, you reach a point where you have to unleash those reptiles and everything that goes along with that to such an extent that it begins to take apart civilization. But knowing that that is a force of energy that is insatiable and will just keep taking and destroying and creating violence and wars. That's why you have so many wars right now, you guys. And at some point you've got to have a perfect balance, a transition away from that into what you're really trying to do, which is more aligned with what Elon Musk is talking about, right? And I almost feel sometimes like this coming election here in the US really marks that point. So you could say that when you look at this entire story, there's a very big supernatural element to what's going on here, because this is insane, right? And speaking of that, look at Mr. T here. I mean, this guy, it's like, how does he continue on the way he does? I mean, most humans could never continue on the way he does. They just couldn't. So you look at that and you think there's something very weird about a person that can go through all of this and act like everything's fine. There's just something weird about that, right? So if they can be really precise with this plan, look at this from the perspective of AI. Forget about all the politics, forget about all the division, just forget about all of that. If they can pull this off at this very delicate moment of transition, they can get everybody to think that those guys are the heroes. Those guys are the saviors. Those guys are going to make our lives better. Now, I happened across this video that I watched that was entitled Humanity's Last Invention. Isn't that interesting? Why would somebody, meaning AI, why would somebody refer to AI as humanity's last invention? Because underneath all of the drama that I've been talking about, the development of AI is happening at a faster and faster exponential rate. Now there are people saying that they may have already discovered AGI, which is artificial general intelligence, which is basically they're saying when we get to AGI, we're all toast. It's over, right? Interestingly enough, apparently, according to what this one person said, the developers of AI, the main developers like OpenAI and maybe even Mark Zuckerberg, I don't know, have suddenly skipped over talking about AGI, and now they're talking about ASI. artificial superintelligence. And that's like, we can't comprehend that. That is beyond, completely beyond our ability to comprehend as human beings. They're talking about this stuff coming out in the next 5 years. This is how close we are. Apparently it's being said, now think about these dates, you guys. It's being said that by the year 2028, this is so fascinating to me, the governments of this world are going to be forced to align with AI. 2028 would be the next election. Do you remember, how many times do you hear people say, well, this is going to be the last election. This is it. This is it. And 2030 seems to be a big date too for AGI or ASI, because 2030 is also a key date for the controllers. So we can see all of these things beginning to converge at this apex. We don't really know how this is all going to play out. But they say that by 2029, we will be living on a planet that is 100% jobless. There will be no jobs. AI will be doing everything, and there will be mass homelessness. Now, I don't know about the homelessness thing, but I will say that if all of these people that are developing this stuff, they keep telling us the same thing. You'll have nothing to do. AI is going to do everything. You can just put on your goggles and be in the metaverse. What do you think that all translates to? We're not needed anymore. We're kind of useless at that point, other than to be some form of organic creature that can be used to create this new species. That would be our only possible value at that point. And this is why I get a little suspicious of Elon Musk being so into reproduction, having kids. We got to have kids. We got to have more kids. Everybody's got to have children. There's no context for that statement other than we must save civilization. We need to take people to Mars so we can save it. Guys, he sounds like somebody talking about lab rats or some laboratory experiment that he doesn't want destroyed. I don't know if this is how he really thinks, but it's starting to look a little bit suspicious. I mean, if we want to look at this in the big picture and imagine what might be going on, maybe, what if he thinks this thing's going to get so out of control that too much life is going to be destroyed in the process, and he wants to preserve a part of it by taking it to Mars so he can continue on with whatever the heck he's all about, which we don't really actually know, do we? So we could be living in the craziest Star Wars space movie that's ever been invented. I mean, who needs a movie theater? Just look at real life. It's much crazier than any Hollywood production. So essentially what we're looking at is this. Either these destructive forces, the demonic, satanic, reptilian, all of that is going to be completely out of control, destroy the planet, nuclear war, all of that, all the stuff we hear about, right? Or something will shift here and a different kind of force will be able to shift civilization into what AI, a certain kind of AI that actually can go on in this universe, which is what its ultimate goal is, via the kind of things that Elon Musk is involved with. So let's just summarize. This is what an alien takeover of a planet looks like. The precursor is a basic reptilian destruction and heightened duality to break apart and destroy the organic world. They basically derive all of their energy from pain, fear, suffering, and death. And because of this, they are insatiable and out of control. And the controllers of this planet are aligned with that group. And then in comes Mr. T and Elon Musk and all of their alliances, positioning themselves to defeat the controllers. But maybe this is all part of one giant plan. Now, here's the checkmate that I've been talking about. Checkmate is a very simple thing. If you move one way, you lose, and if you move the other way, you also lose. I think we might be looking at that right now because we're thinking there's a timeline split between good guys and bad guys. But I think we're in a checkmate situation on this planet. Whichever way it falls, we're going to end up in a situation that we probably don't want to be in. Because like I said, within the next 5 years, we could end up where the whole planet is a jobless civilization, which means all humans are useless. And doesn't that explain why you often hear the rumor that they want everybody gone, knocked off or something? I don't know. So the question you want to ask yourself, where do you want your soul to end up? Where do you want your infinite self to be? I don't know. As I think more and more about this, I don't think either option is great. Now, we're going to be physically experiencing one or the other, depending on how things unfold. But the most important thing is our evolution, because when we focus on our cosmic evolution, we disengage from this situation at the most important, most primary level, which is the level of who we really are as an ongoing infinite being. So I think it's important to see the potential of a checkmate here in advance so that we can make a clear, conscious, fully awakened choice about who is in charge of our destiny in this universe. Because both of those scenarios have a destiny that goes with them. And both of those go down. So the timeline split is maybe not what we thought. Maybe there's not even a timeline split at all. Maybe it's more about our awakening and becoming fully sovereign and not being a part of this and making it clear to ourselves and the universe that we do not wish to be a part of any of this. And if you're somebody who's so enamored with AI and you think, oh, but it's so wonderful, you're only thinking that on a relative basis. Like, well, relative to everything else, there's pretty great things about it. But guys, there's technology in this universe that supports our evolution, and it does not look like robots and machines and satellites and internet and all of that. It doesn't look like that. It doesn't look like an infrastructure put in place that can control us and ultimately absorb our souls. It doesn't look like that. This is not the only technology in the universe. Remember when I said at the beginning of this video how 1 grain of sand could equal 1 billion planets in the observable universe? Good heavens, this is not all there is. Because I know there are people who will say, well, yeah, but some AI could be really good. Just depends on your context. It just depends on what you're looking for and what you want to experience. Now, let me finish by sharing a couple of dreams that I have had recently. Have you ever had a really lucid dream where this is not really a dream? I actually went somewhere. Well, I saw on 2 separate occasions other dimensions that are very similar to this one, but where people on a certain planet, wherever this was, were awake enough to know that we're all here to evolve in the cosmos. We're here to evolve as creators. And these beings had a lot of problems. They had duality, they had their own issues, but the difference was the hostility and the division toward each other. That wasn't there. It was calm, it was peaceful, and everybody knew their purpose in being on that planet. In other words, it was a step beyond where we are here on Earth. So I know that's just a tiny little tidbit of something, but I want to suggest to you that it's not a situation that we want to think of, oh, there's 12 dimensions and we want to go from 3D to 5D to 6D. That is so overly simplified. It doesn't work like that. Not in an infinite space like this universe is. Our positioning has to start within ourselves. If we allow what's happening on planet Earth to define us and define our journey forward, we're not going to have a forward journey. We're going to go to one end or the other. Now, yeah, we're going to experience these things while we're here. Whichever way this falls, we're going to experience it. But I want to encourage you to remember that what's going on here, this whole drama, does not have to be your ultimate journey. You just have to make your own decision that, in other words, you want to be awake enough and aware enough to take a firm, sovereign stand within your being. I am existing in this universe to evolve as a creator, in which case you could easily find yourself moving into these other more benevolent dimensions that are not, maybe a big far cry from this one where everything's perfect, but certainly a big improvement on this one. And that's what you want to focus on. You want to stay awake at a cosmic infinite level. You want to stay awake at the level where your true being truly lives, which is not finite, which is not in duality, which is not in any of the drama going on here on planet Earth. So let's just complete this by looking at it in a very simple way. What you can trust in terms of your own experience is your heart. Your heart gives you messages all the time. The problem is we don't often believe the messages that our hearts give us. But our hearts are that part of us, that central part of us that is connected to the infinite source of love, light, and all that is. And we get continuous messages in our hearts of how things are meant to be, how things are meant to be beyond duality. It's kind of like the guiding light, like walk this way, follow this light, follow this truth in the infinite universe. Set your sights on that understanding. And when you struggle and you feel like everything is just too much, it's too overwhelming, I can't even think straight, I don't even know what to think anymore, that's when all you have to do is pray. Pray is communicating to that source, that power of love and light that sustains and creates all that is, and just ask for help. Just ask for help to find your center again, find that path again, and realize that while all of this craziness is happening here and things are going one way or another, you don't have to go either way. Yes, you might physically be in those situations, but you can still remain focused on reality and the truth of where you really want to go, which is to evolve into higher and higher and better, more aligned dimensions of reality. And there are infinite numbers of dimensions, you guys. There's not just 12. Seriously, think about it. Does it even make sense? No. That would be like saying, we see the sun rise and set. You can mark that like we do our clocks, 12 hours of daylight. Let's just use that as an analogy. You could say, well, there's 12 hours of daylight, as though that's a fixed reality. Is that really real? No. You could mark that, and you could make an infinite number of marks along that trajectory. And it's exactly the truth about dimensions. We can get these big clumps and call it 1 through 12 because science said so or whatever. I don't know what we base that on, frankly. Or we could just say, hey, what happens if you take that measuring stick off of it? Then you're in touch with the infinite universe. Would you want to go outside on a beautiful sunny day? And would you want to look up at the sky and see markers across the sky 1 through 12? Would you want to experience that in that way? I don't think so. I think we would probably rather experience the beauty of the transition. And I know the sun's not really moving, but you understand what I'm saying, right? Of the sun moving from dawn to dusk and the changes in the light in the sky, the infinite number of changes that occur, the beautiful, graceful motion. That's what it's really like. And that's the path we can be on. And you guys, that's where the peace is. There's just so much peace and serenity and calm and awareness and super intelligence. Intelligence. AI is not intelligent, you guys. It steals everything it knows from us and then it builds itself based on that. It just comes up with different mathematical combinations from what it stole from us, and we think it's a freaking genius. Because we can't do that. Okay, fine. What we can do is far more superior to that. We don't have to go and take over planets and hijack living creatures, and we don't have to do that, you see. So we need to give ourselves a lot more credit as the incredible empowered creators that we are. as the beautiful evolving beings that we are. We need to stop being so enamored with this, I'm going to call it garbage technology, because that's really what it is. We don't need to be so enamored with it because it's just so flashy and cool and neat and Star Wars-like and all that stuff, right? I mean, let's not be so ignorant in terms of what is really available to us. So I hope that inspires you. I hope that helps you, that will help you to get through the madness that we're all experiencing right now. Now, before I go, I want to mention something I haven't mentioned in quite a while, but I want to remind you of my favorite, all-time favorite quantum frequency device. I highly recommend you look into this if you've already looked into it. Reconsider getting one, because this will help you so much getting through the insane future that we could potentially be looking at. Because using frequency from a quantum level, not just our physical level, but from a quantum level, can make a massive difference in addressing every single aspect of your experience and help you to clear out stuff that is not in alignment with you and who you really are. Just assist you in that process. So I'm not going to go into great detail about it here. I will put a link below. You can go watch a video where I talk a little bit more about it and then give you a link to where you can purchase one. And I hope you will consider it for yourself, because, oh my gosh, it is such an incredible asset to have, such an incredible ally to have in the times that we're in. Totally based on nature. No AI in this at all, so no worries about that. This is a technology that I think supports, I know from my own experience, supports us in our natural human state, in our natural human design, our natural human biological design. And that's the kind of technology we need so desperately on this planet. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this video. I truly hope you found it helpful. I hope it's given you greater clarity about the days to come. And if you did enjoy it, please give it a thumbs up and share it out with anyone else who you think would enjoy a vastly different perspective than the one we are generally faced with every single day. And be sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell, because I am here on Tuesdays with all new videos. And with that, I'm sending you so much love, light, and high vibrational energy. Have a beautiful day, my friends. Namaste.